Down here we have a plant area called fusion, because we bring a lot of different plants in here. We bring in native plants to reproduce them and then put them back out, because in a lot of areas the native plants have almost been wiped out. So if we can reproduce them easier, we'll help them out to try and repair some of the damage that humans and cows and deforestation causes. The plant reproduction area gets a little messy and confusing at times. We got a lot of things to do and it's hard to always pay attention. But slowly we gather our successes. So let's take a look at a few of those now. Here we have a purple-headed anise that seems to be doing quite well, and seeds have been collected off of that. Also, we've got a couple unknown plants in here that we don't know what they're called. Luckily, we don't have to know. We've planted so much different interesting things that we'll figure out later. I think this one's kind of a dill, actually. They didn't know what it was, but I don't think they've seen dill. Lamb's ear we've got. Looks like we've got some lavender in here, some thyme, some tarragon. Tarragon, we got it for the first time this year. That's pretty exciting. That was from seed. What a weird flavor. So by getting these culinary herbs from other parts of the world, we can actually make the local diet more varied, and hopefully at the same time improve the health of the food that people eat here by making new recipes that are exciting and so forth. We've got 4 plants of Manrubio. I don't know what that is in English, but I have Manrubio. We only have 4, so we'll be trying to get seeds off of that and reproduce it. It's a medicinal plant, I believe. The oreganos have done just fine. We're going to have forests of oreganos this year. These ones we watered, and then there's ones down the dimple we didn't water. Of course, these ones are bigger, but oregano's a solved problem. We'll have all the oregano we want. We have white borage. That's done well actually outside, so we'll stop doing that in pots entirely. There's 3 trees from seeds I got in the park up north, and of the tejocote I bought some yellow fruits in the plaza in Pátzcuaro. I don't like to eat these, but they sell them to eat, and they're better than the tejocotes that we have. They're like a better variety. So we planted some of those, and out of the 20 or 30 that we planted, we only got 2 trees. That's not much. But what that tells me is I should try it again and try it better, because also we might be able to take that tejocote and plant it here and have it grow and do well, and it's a better fruit. Or if that doesn't work, we can always graft it onto the more local tejocote. This is the manzanillo plant. It's the same one that we graft a pear and a membrillo onto. So that could be a great success there. Yeah. There's a couple of nut trees that have succeeded. We actually planted quite a few nuts and didn't know the names of some of them even. But we have one that's come up that is unidentified. We've got 10 macadamia trees coming up from seed. We've got 11 pecan trees. And then the other ones that we don't know what they are. We planted 2 mamey trees, and one of them lived. That means we should buy more mamey when it's in season and go ahead and plant it. The tree looks quite healthy. I think it could do just fine here. Mamey, for those of you who don't know, is a weird football-shaped fruit with an odd flavor. Makes a good ice cream flavor, actually. In Pátzcuaro, I buy medicinal plants sometimes. Medicinal seeds. So there's a stand, and I'll buy almost any kind of medicinal seed to see if we can grow that. In many cases it doesn't work, in some it does. This is a medicinal platano. They call it platano, but it's a little lumpy looking seed. Not anything like a banana. And it's supposed to be medicinal, so we're growing some of those. We didn't have much success, but we'll try again. Here's an avocado here. We always try and take the avocado seeds from the kitchen and make them into trees. Sometimes we get too busy and don't do it, but it's really a shame not to get a tree out of every single avocado pit, because avocados are so wonderful. We might as well have a surplus to plant all over the place. If we need to get rid of one later, we can do it, but we'll just try it out. We've had our first successes at germinating citrus. Some lemon seeds we were able to germinate and now have little trees. That encourages me and makes me think I'll try more citrus. I see the first orchid bloom of the year. That's lovely. I'll take a picture of it. We made canoes or dugouts out of logs, and we've been using those for certain types of plant reproduction. The two most important ones that we put in it are the native orchids, which is Laelia species, and then there's a native epiphytic cactus that we're going to put back in the oak trees. Both the cactus and the orchids like to live in oak trees in kind of hollows between the branches. So these canoes simulate that kind of spot really well. And we tried a few other plants in them as well. Anything that especially reproduces nicely, we'll do that more. Well, we planted some pine nuts because this is kind of the genetic home of conifers and pines, and there's a lot of species. There's, I think, over 100 types of pines in this area, and this is the pine nut one that produces food. So it produces a very expensive seed out of its cone, and so we'd like to have that around here. It should be just fine. It's probably been here before in the total history of climate change, etc., and we'd like to bring it on back. We only got 4 plants out of all the pine nuts we planted, and that is not many. We planted like over 30. We tried them in different types of bags, different types of soils, sandy soil. It turned out it did best in the Tierra de Encino, which is lucky since that's what we have lots of. We also tried growing it in the studio versus out here outside, and it did much better outside. We've got some peaches growing. Those are from peaches of some kind or some peach-like thing. I don't know if it's nectarine or what, that I actually brought back the seed. Often if I'm at the grocery store, I'll look for fruits that don't look like they've been picked too young, and I'll buy things in hopes that the seeds will do well. They usually don't, because they were harvested young and then shipped a long way. But I'd love to get different kinds of apples down here. There's a huge range of possibilities for this kind of farming. We've got lots of fine-looking dahlias from seed. We have a Sapote Negro. We have 5 of those trees, so we should probably plant more of those. That's kind of a custard fruit. It's fairly interesting. One of the gardens near here, we've got some tomatoes going that we actually put plastic down and then put the tomatoes on top, so that in the few cases where we water them, the water will stay there longer. I don't know how much I like the idea since the roots can't go very far, but it's something worth trying. And so we'll see what happens. There's a little pink flower. It's a native crocus, and it's one of the first plants up every year. It's really quite gorgeous. When I first moved here, I only saw it in a couple spots, and we dug it up out of one of those spots and started propagating it in some pots, and it seems to be doing very well. So we're going to start helping that plant reestablish faster. It probably got wiped out when the deforestation happened here, and it's a pretty little flower. It's very cute. Comes up at a time of year when you haven't seen anything, a lot of flowers for a while. This Datura plant came from a seed from Europe. It's the only one I know of here. It should have a different color or be in some way different. This guy was really into Daturas. He studies them or something. He was writing a book, so I let him use one of my photos, and he sent me a few seeds. So we'll see how that goes, since Datura does quite well here. Doesn't have any use for humans particularly, but oh well. It's nice that I finally have some success with ginkgo bilobas. They're notoriously difficult to germinate. I've tried quite a few seeds without much success. But we now have 10 trees. Those will be very slow to develop. Ginkgo biloba is one of the oldest in the tree species, So it's an ancient tree. It might have been around when dinosaurs were around or something. It's also sort of interesting because it's medicinal. People believe that it improves your memory. I might want some of that, actually. And it's different in a couple other ways. One thing is it gets very large. And when it matures, which takes, I believe, over 50 years, so this may be a while, then if you have a male and a female near each other, then they'll produce fruit, the ginkgo nut, and that will fall to the ground. But the smell it makes when it's rotting is really disgusting. So if you're going to plant a ginkgo biloba forest, then you should do that in a space that no one's ever going to want to use for anything, at least during part of the year. So it's good to have in a park somewhere a grove of those, and maybe groves in different spots. We'll plant them in a few places in the bosque. Probably buy more seeds so I can have more chance at getting more of them. And I'll plant probably a minimum of 4 in a location, ideally, so that as they mature they can produce seeds, and we can make sure that that really ancient, amazing tree doesn't totally die out.